The applause erupted like thunder as Johnny Depp stepped onto the stage of the Ellen Carter Show in Los Angeles, the spotlight blazing like waves crashing through the room. The crowd cheered, their eager smiles blooming on every face. They anticipated backstage tales, a few charming quips from the infamous pirate. Johnny, clad in a faded black shirt and a worn jacket, his hands adorned with glinting rings like relics of Jack Sparrow, gave a shy wave. A fleeting, awkward smile crossed his lips. But when his deep brown eyes met Ellen Carter's, standing there with a radiant grin, everything paused. Ellen greeted him, her warm voice flowing through the microphone. "Welcome, Johnny Depp, the man who's captivated the world." He settled into the velvet chair, his hands trembling slightly as they rested on his knees. Then his gaze caught on the bird-shaped necklace dangling against her chest. Small, delicate, shimmering like an unspoken whisper. The air shifted, laughter fading into a strange stillness, as if the stage had opened a hidden door. Ellen leaned in, her eyes sparkling. "Johnny, I can tell you brought something special today, haven't you?" He gave a faint chuckle, his low voice unhurried. "Ellen, I'm not sure. I just want to be real with you." The audience clapped, but the sound carried a different weight now. Not just excitement, but a longing for something deeper. Ellen teased, "You walked in here like Jack Sparrow. I thought you'd bring the whole ship with you." Johnny laughed softly. "I left the ship at home, but I brought myself, and I hope that's enough." Their conversation began, but Johnny felt a restlessness stirring within, like something awakening beneath the lights. He looked at Ellen, her gaze glowing like an invitation. "Johnny, I see you've got something to say. Don't hold back, okay?" He took a breath, his fingers brushing a ring. "Maybe you're right. I'm no good at flash, but today I want to tell you something true." The audience fell silent, their breaths held, and Ellen nodded. "Johnny, I'm waiting. Just be you." Ellen Carter leaned forward in her chair. The Ellen Carter Show. The auditorium was still buzzing with the echo of applause as she fixed Johnny Depp with a playful grin. "Johnny," she said, "everyone adores you for Jack Sparrow. But where did you find the spark to create that wild pirate?" Johnny smiled softly, his brown eyes twinkling, his fingers twisting a ring, one he'd added to Jack's costume himself. "Ellen," he replied, his voice deep and steady, "it's a long story, but I'll keep it short. I drew from Keith Richards," he began, "the Rolling Stones guitarist, his swagger, that slurred drawl, pure rock and roll. Then I tossed in a bit of Pepe Le Pew's madness, that goofy, charming cartoon skunk." Ellen burst out laughing. "Pepe Le Pew? Really? I thought you'd pick someone cooler." He nodded. "Yeah, I love the odd stuff. Jack's no typical hero. He's a survivor, a little crazy, but real." She pressed on. "What about the costume? All those rings and charms. Who dreamed that up?" Johnny chuckled faintly. "Me. The script didn't have it. I added them to make Jack grittier, deeper. I wanted him to look like he'd just escaped a deserted island." The audience applauded, Ellen's eyes widening. "Johnny, you're practically a designer." He shook his head. "No, I just wanted him real, like how I live." Ellen nodded. "How'd you make Jack come alive?" He tilted his head. "I trained with a sword for 4 months, calluses on my hands, practicing with stuntmen till late. Not to be great, but to feel him." Ellen clapped. 4 months? I'd drop a sword in 5 minutes." He smiled. "It was worth it. I wanted Jack to be someone I knew, not just a role." The crowd hushed, sensing the passion in his words, and Ellen said, "Johnny, you're one of a kind. You don't just act, you live the character." The audience quieted, the Ellen Carter Show. Lights casting a glow on Johnny Depp as Ellen Carter shifted gears, her voice warm. "Johnny, I hear you're not just an actor. You're a musician too. What's that story?" Johnny smiled faintly, his hand brushing his collar as if reaching for an old guitar, his brown eyes glinting with memory. "Ellen," he said, "before acting, I was a music guy. That's the real me. I started with a guitar, he shared, playing rock in dingy bars, smoke thick in the air, floors sticky with beer. I didn't dream of Hollywood. I dreamed of touring, living off music. Ellen leaned in. Really? How good were you? He grinned. Good enough to scrape by. I played blues, ballads, collected vintage guitars. I still tour with Hollywood vampires. Alice Cooper calls me crazy, but I love it. Her eyes widened. Hollywood vampires? Sounds like a horror flick. He nodded. Yeah, but it's music. It's where I breathe. I taught Lily Rose to play guitar when she was little. She's better than me now. The crowd cheered, Ellen laughing. Lily Rose learned from you? I bet she'll be a rock star. He shook his head. Maybe. I just wanted her to feel music like I do. It's freedom. Ellen asked, why didn't you stick with music forever? He paused. I planned to, but life took a turn. A friend dragged me to a casting call for fun. I never thought I'd get picked. I almost played Wolverine, but Hugh Jackman fit better. Ellen laughed. Wolverine? I can see you with claws. He chuckled. I'm more of a pirate, but music's still my home. The audience stilled and Ellen said, Johnny, you've shown me another you. Before the lights, you were already an artist. Ellen Carter beamed, her eyes shining as she gazed at Johnny Depp on the Ellen Carter Show stage, her voice brimming with curiosity. Johnny, they say you're the kindest guy in Hollywood, giving up seats, helping people, sharing paychecks. What drives you to do that? Johnny tilted his head, his hand grazing the tattoo on his wrist, Lily Rose's name, his brown eyes flickering with thought. Ellen, he said, I don't think it's anything big. It's just how I live. She nodded. But why do you do it? He began. While shooting pirates, a stuntman fell from scaffolding. No one noticed. I took him to the hospital, stayed till his wife arrived. He had a kid. I didn't want him alone. Ellen went quiet. Johnny, you didn't have to. You're the star. He shook his head. I'm not a star. I'm a person like him. This tattoo, he pointed to his wrist, is a Lily Rose. She reminds me to stay true. Ellen pressed, what about sharing your pay? He smiled faintly. Yeah, I split it with the Pirates crew. They sweat, get hurt. I just swung a sword and talked. I told the producers, give them my share. They earned it. It's not generosity, it's fairness. The crowd clapped, but he raised a hand. No need to clap. I didn't do it for that. She grinned. Your tattoos, are they tied to this? He nodded. Each one's a story. My kids, a friend I lost, films I've done. They remind me, everyone carries pain, and I don't want to add to it. Ellen nodded. Johnny, you turned kindness into art. He smiled. No, Ellen. I just live like I did back in the bar days, lending a hand when I can. The audience fell silent, feeling the honesty etched in the ink he wore. The microphone hummed softly as Ellen Carter gazed at Johnny Depp on the Ellen Carter Show stage, her voice gentle like a whisper in the wind. Johnny, you live so authentically, so kindly, but have you ever regretted anything in your career? Johnny paused, his deep brown eyes drifting into the past, his fingers twisting a ring as if searching for a lost memory. Ellen, he said, his voice low and steady, I've got plenty of regrets, but not for the failures, for what they taught me. I turned down Speed, he began, then Titanic, Interview with the Vampire, those blockbuster roles. I don't like ordinary characters. I crave the weirdos, the ones nobody gets. Ellen's eyes widened. Titanic? You could have been Jack Dawson? He gave a faint smile. Yeah, but I don't regret it. Leonardo was the right fit. I got passed over for Neo in The Matrix too. They said I wasn't fast enough. Maybe they were right. The audience chuckled, and Ellen pressed. Didn't that sting? He shook his head. No. Every rejection, every no I gave or got, taught me to pick roles with my heart. I don't want to see myself on screen. I want to become someone else, like Jack Sparrow. Ellen nodded, her voice warm. Johnny, aren't you ever afraid of failing? He stopped, his gaze steady. Sure I am, but I'm more afraid of faking it. I thought those moments would break me, but they made me tougher. She smiled. You're like Jack, always surviving. He nodded. Maybe, but I survive because I choose what's real. Some days I'd sit sketching caricatures, thinking about roles that slipped away. They didn't destroy me, they shaped me. Ellen's eyes softened. Johnny, you make me see failure as its own story. He smiled back. That's it, Ellen, and I want to tell it to you today, raw and true. Ellen Carter looked up. The Ellen Carter Show. Lights dimmed as she fixed her eyes on Johnny Depp, her voice soft as a lullaby. Johnny, you've shared failure, kindness. What faith keeps you standing strong? Johnny froze for a moment, his hand brushing the tattoo of Lily Rose's name, his brown eyes glinting as if peering through a storm. Ellen, he said, I believe in something, though I'm not great at naming it. What is it? She asked. He began. When my friend passed, I sat in my room, rain pounding the window. I thought there was nothing left, just silence. Then I heard a bird singing through the storm, quiet but real. It felt like it was telling me, you're not alone. Ellen went still, her fingers grazing her bird-shaped necklace. A bird? Really? He nodded. Yeah, I didn't grow up with scriptures, just guitars and dive bars. But that night, I felt a peace wash over me. Ellen murmured, Is that faith? He gave a faint laugh. Maybe. I doubted it once, thought it was a trick of the mind. But when I inked my kids' names, when I see them every day, I know. Something bigger holds me here. She asked, Aren't you scared to say this? He nodded. Yeah, I don't want to sound like some dreamer, but with you, being real feels like the only way. Ellen smiled, her voice trembling. Johnny, you're making me believe it too. He pointed to her necklace. That bird, it reminds me of the one in the rain. A sign I've still got stories to tell. The audience sat hushed, Ellen nodding as tears shimmered in her eyes. Johnny, you've just given me a beautiful tale, and I want to hear more. The applause had faded. The Ellen Carter Show. The auditorium steeped in stillness as Johnny Depp met Ellen Carter's gaze, his deep brown eyes flickering with a tremor. He took a deep breath, his hand grazing Lily Rose's tattooed name like an anchor, his low voice rumbling slow and deliberate. Ellen, can I share something I've never told anyone publicly? Ellen leaned forward, her eyes alight with tender curiosity, whispering, Johnny, go ahead. I'm listening. He paused, the air thickening like a storm brewing, then spoke. One night, years ago, I didn't want to live anymore. I was in a hotel room, he recounted, his tone even yet heavy. Lights off, just the rain slamming the glass. An empty bottle rolled across the floor. I wasn't drunk, but I wanted to forget everything. I didn't eat, didn't sleep. Everything inside me felt dead. His eyes drifted away. I'd said no to Titanic, Speed, big roles, because I only wanted strange stories. But that night I wondered, is my story worth anything? I couldn't see a way out. Ellen listened, her hand resting on her bird necklace, her breath catching. Johnny went on, I didn't cry, not because I was strong, but because I was hollow. I thought of Lily Rose, Jack, my kids, but even they couldn't pull me back. I talk slowly because I think too much, but that night I had nothing left to ponder. He glanced at his hands. I've never told anyone. I hate fame, hate explaining myself, but with you, I need to be real. The audience sat silent, walking with him through the dark. I used to dress as Jack Sparrow for kids in hospitals, making them laugh, he said. But that night I couldn't smile. I thought, maybe this is it. I'm no storyteller anymore. Ellen nodded, her voice quaking. Johnny, I get it, and they feel it with you. He gave a faint smile. I'm not sure they want to hear this, Ellen, but it led me to a moment that changed everything. He breathed in, a spark of hope in his eyes. I picked up my phone, just craving a flicker of light, however small. Johnny Depp fell silent, his gaze lost in memory. The Ellen Carter Show. The auditorium hushed as if awaiting a single note to break the stillness. He looked at Ellen Carter, his deep voice resonating. Ellen, that night I scrolled my phone. No purpose, just desperate to escape the dark. Then I found a video of you. Ellen lifted her eyes wide and radiant, her fingers brushing the bird necklace as if sensing something profound. Really? She asked, her voice trembling. He nodded. Yes. And it turned me around. I don't recall the date, he said, but I remember you on stage, wearing that necklace, talking about hard days. You said, life doesn't need you to be perfect. It just needs you to keep going. Your voice was warm, real, like it was speaking straight to me. He smiled faintly. I improvised. But why is the rum gone? In Pirates. But your words weren't improv. They were truth, and they hit me deep. He paused. I watched it through, then twice more, like a blues song I couldn't let go. Ellen wiped her eyes, her voice breaking. Johnny, I had no idea. He leaned closer. That's why it saved me, because you didn't know. You said, if you're breathing, you've still got a story to tell. It was like a blade, not fancy but sharp, cutting through my darkness. The audience sat still, one person bowing their head to wipe a tear. I didn't get up right away, he said, but it made me think, maybe my story's not done. The next morning I stood for the first time in days. I'd fake a drunk Jack, he added, watching boozers to nail it. But that night, you woke me sober. Ellen smiled through tears. Johnny, I just spoke from my heart. He nodded. And that heart dragged me back from the edge. I don't rewatch my films. I'd see the flaws. But your video, I played it like a lifeline tune. Someone in the crowd squeezed a neighbor's hand, feeling that light too. Ellen whispered, Johnny, you're breaking me open. He met her eyes. Ellen, you were my storyteller that night. No script, just real. Tears streamed down Ellen Carter's cheeks. The Ellen Carter Show auditorium holding its breath as she gazed at Johnny Depp, her hand clutching the bird-shaped necklace tightly. Johnny, she said, her voice breaking like fragile glass. I had no idea my words reached you like that. I just spoke what I felt. Johnny offered a gentle smile, his deep brown eyes radiating sincerity, leaning closer. Ellen, that's exactly why it was so powerful. Like a blues riff I'd play on an old guitar. I used to write backstories for Jack Sparrow, he shared, imagining he studied philosophy, loved a sea witch's daughter, stuff the films never needed. But that night, I couldn't write a story for myself. Your words did it for me, telling me I still had worth, even when I couldn't see it. Ellen wiped her eyes. Johnny, I've had dark days too. Losing someone close, I thought I'd never pull through. He nodded. I see it in your eyes, the way you speak, the way you live. That's why I had to tell you. The audience sat hushed, their eyes glistening. I despise the Hollywood star label, he said. I'm not a star, I'm a storyteller. You showed me. Storytelling isn't just movies, it's moments like this. Ellen laughed through her tears. Johnny, you're melting me, he went on. After that video, I picked up my guitar, the one I taught Lily Rose to play as a kid. I couldn't strum right away, but I felt I wasn't invisible anymore. Ellen nodded. Johnny, you've just given me the greatest gift. He cut in, his voice soft. You gave it to me first, Ellen. You didn't know, but you did. I'd visit kids in hospitals as Jack, making them laugh. But you made me smile in the dark. She looked out at the crowd. Folks, I never imagined my words could hold such power. But Johnny's proof. He met her gaze. Ellen, you don't just tell stories, you live them. And that changed me. A woman in the audience dabbed her eyes as if glimpsing her own reflection in their shared tale. Johnny Depp rose to his feet. The Ellen Carter Show. Lights casting his shadow long and lean as he looked at Ellen Carter, his low voice ringing out like a slow melody. Ellen, he said, you think you're just a host, but I think you're a storyteller in disguise. Ellen lifted her tear-streaked face, her hand brushing the bird necklace. Johnny, I just try to live true. I didn't know I helped you. He stepped nearer. That's why it's real, because you didn't know. When I shot pirates, he recalled, Disney thought I was drunk with Jack's slurred drawl. But that was me, telling an oddball tale. You're the same, Ellen. You tell yours through who you are. The audience sat silent, one person grabbing another's hand. I don't watch my own films, he said, scared I'll see a fraud. But your video, I watched it like a blues track on my old guitar. Every note is true. Ellen shook her head. Johnny, you're shaking me. I didn't think I was special. He smiled faintly. You are because you don't try. I once planned to be a musician forever. Acting was a fluke. But you showed me. Storytelling doesn't need a big stage, just a heart. That necklace, he pointed to it. It was a sign in your video whispering, someone believes, and you can too. Ellen wiped her eyes. Johnny, you're making me want to do something bigger. I'd sketch caricatures for co-stars, he said. But today I draw you in my soul, the one who gave me hope. Ellen stood, her voice trembling. Johnny, you're making me feel like I've got a purpose. He nodded. You do, Ellen. You're a storyteller, not with flash, but with truth. The audience nodded quietly, as if witnessing a greater story unfold. The Ellen Carter Show. The auditorium sank into a sacred stillness, the lights fading as if yielding to the moment between Johnny Depp and Ellen Carter. He stood there, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder, his deep brown eyes glowing like a small flame, piercing the night. Ellen, he said, his voice rolling like a slow blues tune. I've got something to say, something that might shift your life like you shifted mine. Ellen looked up, tears tracing her face, yet a faint smile bloomed. Johnny, I'm all ears. He pressed her shoulder gently, his tone resolute. Life doesn't promise light, but it always leaves a flame, and you're the one keeping it alive. Ellen clasped his hand, her voice quivering. Johnny, I'm just a host. I don't know how I've done what you say. He shook his head, a flicker of a smile. You don't need to know. That's the magic. I'd improvise and pirates pluck old guitars in dark bars. But you hold the flame by being real, warming me when I am frozen. The audience stayed silent, their eyes shimmering like they mirrored his flame. I've thought of those black days, he went on, losing friends, fearing for my kids, nights I sat with a guitar I couldn't play. But you taught me, the flame doesn't die. It waits for someone to fan it. He gestured to her bird necklace. It's like the bird I heard in the rain, soft but sure, telling me the dark isn't forever. Ellen wiped her eyes, her voice breaking. Johnny, you're making me want to live bolder, stronger. He smiled gently. You already are, Ellen, not because you try, but because you're you. I'd sketch memories and caricatures, but you're a living portrait, flawed, real, and it's that realness that keeps us standing. They embraced, her tears soaking his shirt, the audience rising quietly. No applause, just feeling. He whispered, his voice a breeze. The biggest lesson I've learned is, a flame doesn't need to blaze. It just needs to burn, however small. You're that flame, Ellen, not just for me, but for anyone lost out there. Ellen nodded, tears gleaming. Johnny, you've made me believe we can all be flames for each other. They stood hand in hand, the lights softening as the story's echo lingered. A flame not meant to dazzle, but to glow steady, lighting the way through the dark.